Hey, it's your friend Choice CJ here, and I'm bringing you guys my Week 1 battle for MPL, Major Pokemon League, and we are going up against Omega Jolteon, coach of the Chicago Carracostas. If you did miss my team builder, I strongly recommend you check it out, but in case you did miss it, I have the following mons on my team. I have a Choice Specs Greninja with dual stabs, Water Shuriken, and U-turn. I've got a bulky Metagross. Now, this actually did change from the team builder, so if you did watch that, this Metagross swapped out Earthquake for Pursuit, because Choice Scarf Lottie is so likely, I figured that having Pursuit to switch that thing out, or as that thing switched out, would just be too valuable. So it is now Rocks, Toxic, Meteor Mash, Pursuit, and I dropped a little bit of the speed to put more into physical attack, and that allows me to put Lottie in range of Pursuit after 2 Rocks switch-ins. I have a Subseed Superior with Hidden Power Flying. I have a D-Dance 3 attacks Megazard X. I've got a physically defensive fast Buzzwole with Power Herb and Bounce for luring in Heracross. And then last but not least, I have an Assault Vest Donphan with Rapid Spin, Play Rough, Ice Shard, and Earthquake. So, in my mock, I faced off versus versus a Heatran lead, and so kind of thinking that might be a likely lead. Greninja kind of made sense to me. It also should outspeed pretty much everything on his team except for Choice Scarfers. I think Lottie again is his most likely Choice Scarfer. I don't think Lando is particularly likely as a Scarfer, and obviously Aloe Shaman most likely not going to be. Shaman should be a Spadef spread for dealing with a combination of Greninja and Superior. This game is slightly long, so I do have it on 1.5 times speed. Hopefully that's okay with you guys. And we're just going to hop right on into it so we don't take too much time with the narration here. So we are going to be leading Greninja. We're going to say good luck, have fun to Omega Jolteon. He's got that Alolan Marowak t-shirt. Very nice. And I lead with my Pashmina as he leads with his Mega Heracross. And so, the possibility of this thing setting up sub is extremely scary for me. But I don't want to leave him my Greninja here. So it seems like my best play is to U-turn on into Buzzwole. And if he does go for a substitute, I'll try and break the sub with an Ice Punch, and then I'll follow up with my Bounce. Because even a max attack Adamant Aerial Ace should not kill my Buzzwole from max. But he does go for Bulk Up, and so this is pretty spooky. I do go for a Bounce, just like I had planned. It does like 70-ish%. And so that's making me think that this is a non-HP invested Heracross, but it turns out that this was pretty close to a max roll. I don't think it was literally max, because he did take a little bit of U-turn chip from my Heracross, but I go to my Zard thinking that I can revenge kill this with my Dragon Claw, and it turns out he lives on 1. We looked after the match, and he had a 3 in 16 chance of surviving my Dragon Claw. And as a result, he is going to take out my Zard. So that's extremely, extremely bad for me. Like, the reasoning for going into Zard to begin with was that I could get my Mega Evolution off, and if he goes for Rocks later in the game, I'm only taking 25% instead of 50%. And I went for Dragon Claw instead of Flare Blitz because, he had pretty good switch-ins to Flare Blitz being Heatran and Aloe. So anyway, we end up losing our main win condition, and I'm having to reevaluate what we're going to do versus his team because without Zard, that was my plan A for winning the game. But because Heracross is so whittled, you can see it's at literally 1 HP right now. My next best way to win is to use my Specs Greninja and spam Dark Pulse. He no longer has any Dark Resists left on his team. And I realize I've skipped through a bunch of turns, but I don't think anything incredibly interesting has happened yet. So he gets his Heracross in versus my Metagross as I go for Rocks, and I don't really have a switch in for this thing. And my Metagross, it really needs to have its HP in order to deal with Lottie. My Donphan isn't extremely useful because he doesn't have Jolteon, and while it would be nice to use Donphan to try and spin versus something like Heatran, it's basically the most expendable thing at this point. And the fact that my Zard is gone means that spin isn't as valuable anyway. So I'm able to take out the Heracross with the Ice Shard. There's a few turns here that you see Superior switches in on Aloe, and he actually misses a Toxic. I don't mean to sort of blow right through that, but that was one of the most critical turns of the game. The fact that this Superior is not Toxic means that it can continually sub up and get Leech Seed recovery versus his team. And later on in the match, we'll see that that turns out to be incredibly annoying for Omega. So he switches in his Shaman. I do hit it with a Leaf Storm. A few turns ago, I hit it with Leaf Storm as well. And based on the damage that it did, it seemed that this is actually like Spadef Assault Vest. Damage calc suggests that a max HP, max Spadef Shaman should take around 10% from my Leaf Storm, given my special attack investment, which is practically 0. So the fact that it took less than 10% means it's probably Assault Vest, but that also means that he doesn't have any recovery on it other than Wish Passing with Alomomola. So I'm okay with giving a little bit of HP on my Superior up to get the Shaman within range of Dark Pulse. And, you know, we see here that I do go for Pursuit. He did show the Earth Power finally. He didn't just show it earlier in the match when my Metagross came in on Shaman. So I wasn't sure if he had the Earth Power or not, but, you know, given the fact he was Assault Fastest, the Earth Power does make sense. But anyway, like I said, it is definitely in range of Dark Pulse now after Rocks. I decided to switch Donphan in on the Shaman, knowing I take 1 Earth Power, but he brings in Aloe, and so here I don't want to go back into my Superior, just in case he does go for that Toxic again, because that would be extremely bad having my Superior Toxic. And so I do leave my Donphan, and basically to die. I went for Play Rough because I didn't want him to be able to switch into like Lottie or Shaman or something for completely free. But he does just wish himself up. You know, that's the smart play. And we get a little bit more chip on him with the Earthquake, and he is eventually going to go for one final wish before we die to our own Toxic. So now this lets me get in potentially my Superior for free, but the problem with going Superior is that it gives him a free switch into Shaman, and Shaman will easily be able to receive the Wish. So going into my Greninja instead allows me to go for Dark Pulse, and he is going to try and switch in his Shaman, hoping that he can survive the Dark Pulse, and he does go down to that. I don't think he had known that I was Specs at this point, so now he definitely does know, and he goes immediately into Lottie. So the fact that I showed Specs Dark Pulse and he goes into Latios screams that this is Choice Scarfed. And he does go for the Thunderbolt here. Does 55 damage. I get up to 66 after my leftovers, and the calcs show that it's 62 damage max to do to my Metagross. So in case he switches out, I did go for Pursuit, but he stays in. You know, he now knows that I have Pursuit because I went for it earlier versus his Shaman. So, you know, he makes the smart play just staying in. And the fact that he's repeatedly spamming Thunderbolt to me, you know, further reinforces the fact that he's Scarfed, so I can pretty easily go into my Serp and just throw off a Leech Seed as the Heatran comes in. So, you know, I don't necessarily need this Heatran to be super weakened, because my Greninja threatens it really badly with water moves, but it would be nice to get this Heatran to about 45% or so, because that guarantees that my Specs Greninja can kill a Fizz-Def Heatran with Dark Pulse, which is the set that I'm expecting him to run. Because that's his best way of dealing with Zard. He hasn't shown leftovers or any other item at this point, so I am suspecting Shuka Berry. And so we are going to be able to heal up, you know, with that Leech Seed. We're going to go for Sub a couple of times, just again to get him sort of in range of the Dark Pulse, like I explained. And the nice thing is that, you know, this Heatran is just staying in here, going for a Lava Plume, kind of spamming that over and over. And it's, you know, it makes me feel pretty safe about going into Greninja here, because he's going to go for his Lava Plume. It's only going to do maybe 30% or so to me, and I'm going to heal a lot of HP back with this Leech Seed. And so now he's in a threatened position. He's got Aloe, he's got Heatran, he's got Lottie, and his last Mon is Lando T. And so I can basically net a kill here with Dark Pulse if I do want to go for that. But the problem with for the position I'm in right now is that anytime Greninja gets a kill, he can go immediately into Lottie and basically collect a kill himself. So I don't want to leave Greninja in versus, you know, I don't want to lure in the Latios while my Greninja's in just yet. Instead, I want to make a safe play, U-turn into my Superior. I went for a Leech Seed expecting his switch. He stayed in and went for a Wish, not a switch, which was, you know, a good play, you know, expecting my Leech Seed. He's going to be able to pass it into his Heatran, but I was expecting his switch out as he goes into the Heatran there, and I can again threaten that with my Greninja. I go for the Dark Pulse, and he sees just how much damage this thing does. Alomomola will be easily KO'd if he leaves it in. And so he makes the decision to sack his Lando T, which I can respect. You know, he knows that I'm Specs Greninja. He's got to figure that I have Water Shuriken, and that can do a tremendous amount of damage to an offensive Lando. And he can go ahead and sack that off. So now he goes into his Latios, and so this is kind of like what I was explaining a second ago. After my Greninja gets a kill, he can go into his Lati and collect a kill. And so I go into Metagross, as it's basically the best sack that I have. And he does go for Thunderbolt. So that's nice for me, because now I can go into Serp. And Serp does resist that Thunderbolt. And knowing that he's probably going to make a switch out, I am going to make a double back into my Greninja. It's Greninja and Serperior versus the world at this point. It's 3 versus 2. And I definitely feel like I'm on the back foot. He is going to switch out of his Heatran back into the Alomomola as I go for U-turn. This gives me an opportunity to get up my Leech Seed or my Substitute again on my Serperior. So that's really nice. Basically, now that we're in this situation, my Greninja I don't think can be my win con. Because if I lose my Serp and get my Greninja in, he can just revenge kill Greninja with a Thunderbolt quite easily. But if I have my Serperior at a good amount of health, my Serperior can potentially take, Draco Meteors eventually. Because over time, Draco Meteor obviously loses its attack power. So I want to get my Serp as healthy as possible, and then try and get one final kill with Greninja, and then hope that Serp can take me to the Promised Land and get the final kills. And so my Serp is at 156 HP, which is pretty good. I could have switched it out rather than going for another substitute, but in case he switched out of his Heatran into something like Lati, I don't want to go into my Greninja as he doubles into Lati, so that would be really bad for me, of course. So after seeing that he wants to spam Lava Plume, I do make the play into Greninja then, and take out his Heatran with my Dark Pulse. And now we are here, the Lati, it's weakened. I am really wishing I had that Meteor Mash damage instead of the Pursuit damage from when he didn't switch out, because I think that might have killed this Lati to rocks. But he is going to go for a Draco. It is going to, of course, take out my Greninja. And I think I'm in a pretty good situation here. If he goes into Alomomola, I get up a free substitute. As he goes for a Draco Meteor here, I am going to still sub, and because now he's at -4, unless he crits with Draco Meteor, he will not be able to break my sub. And so I can fire off a few hits here versus Lati and eventually take it down. And as long as I don't miss Leaf Storm at any point, I think I'm in a good position to win. And I think the fact that he's -6 now makes it also pretty safe for me. But, there's some situations where I could not have a sub up and he could go for Draco and he can crit or something like that. And that would be obviously really crappy. But it kind of works out here. He goes for another Draco Meteor. He had hit me before with one Draco, which didn't break my sub. This one was able to break my sub, but anticipating that, I do go for a second sub. So now he can go for a Draco. It'll hit my Serp, but I can kill him with Hidden Power Flying, maintain my substitute, and that leaves nothing but Alomomola standing in the way between me and victory. And this is good. Like I said, now, as long as I don't miss Leaf Storms, I should be in good position. I don't know what his thing's full moveset is. I think he's shown Wish and Toxic. He hasn't shown any other sort of attacking moves. So because I have my subs, like say he has Ice Beam, I basically have 2 opportunities to hit Leaf Storm here. And that's kind of what I was trying to do in that whole end game, is give myself the best situation to dodge Leaf Storm misses and things like that. But it does end up being a 1-0 victory for us over Omega Jolteon. So, excuse me, good game to him. That was one of the wildest games I've played in a while. I'm not going to lie. The early roll with the Zard onto the Heracross was extremely annoying because I lost my win con, basically, even though we were able to pull it back. But a main reason that we were able to pull it back is because we dodged that Toxic. And, I talked about it with Omega after the match, and he was pretty bummed that it did miss. It totally put him on the back foot, and he didn't have many great ways to deal with Serperior at that point. Like, he did have his Heatran, but as long as I had Seed up and I was able to go into Greninja just pressured the hell out of Heatran. It really couldn't do much versus me. But even with that said, I'm really proud of the way that I was able to claw back in this match after having my game plan completely ruined when I lost that Zard to that Heracross. It always feels good to start off the season on the winning foot, and that is what we've done here. And so I don't know who my week 2 opponent is. I truthfully haven't looked that far ahead yet. But regardless of who it is, I do hope that you guys will check back to the channel to catch that battle, and that you drop a like for this video. Consider dropping a sub so you can stay up to date on all of my latest Pokemon action, my Duel Links action, my Let's Play action, like I'm going on with my Let's Play right now. Lots of tongue twisters there. Anyway, make sure you go check all that out. Make sure you check out the channel for other gaming and Pokemon content. Until the next time, I'll see you guys later.